All right, it's TexAgs Rewind presented by Yeti. I've got my drink in my Yeti cup. Luke, where's your drink in your Yeti cup?
I left it in the room. Richard took it from me, actually. I'm not allowed to have any liquids.
It's part of your timeout?
Yeah, exactly.
That's unfortunate. Luke, are you enjoying your time here at TexAgs?
Absolutely.
There were some accusations thrown out at the end of the show, and I just want to confirm that you were treated well here.
No, I'm very happy. Richard is not holding any of my possessions as collateral, and I enjoy my time here. And he did not tell me to say that. Richard Zane did not tell me to say that.
And he's not holding up a copy of today's newspaper to show what date it is.
Exactly.
It might be back there, but it's whatever. All right, today on the Rewind, we got the Go Hour with Olin Buchanan. We talked anything, everything, and a whole lot of nothing, I think is the best way to categorize that. We had Bob Sturm, 1310 The Ticket, talking Cowboys. Training camp kicked off in Oxnard for America's team. We got Billy Liucci on 23 and 23. Cam Dewberry comes in at player number 23. And then Chris Doering, an interview we had at SEC Media Days last week. That's on the Rewind. Give me a team or two in the West that you expect to take a step forward in 2023.
Okay, well, I'll say A&M. I think A&M is going to take a step forward. I think LSU is going to be exactly what they were.
Okay.
I see Arkansas being about the same. I think Alabama's the same, maybe even a step back. I don't know if I see anybody else making a significant move forward in the West. Who do you see taking a step forward in the West?
I see A&M taking a step forward in the West. I think that one's pretty obvious. We think last year was an outlier. Part of me really wants to say Arkansas. Because as we've said for the last week plus, they've got the most experienced quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
And I think
I once saw Vanderbilt with Jay Cutler, the best quarterback in the league. And they won 4 or 5 games. You got to have more than that.
Yeah.
Now, Arkansas has more than Vanderbilt did.
I do say that, yeah, they have more than Vanderbilt did. But
Arkansas won, 7 games last year?
They went 7-6. And frankly, I'm happy with it. It should have been 8-5. They should have beat A&M. Outside of the
maybe, but people always talk about the fumble and the missed field goal, and they forget that A&M missed a field goal, and that Moose, when he was still trying to figure out how to play, he had 2 big penalties in that game that cost A&M huge gains, and he also stopped running on a deep ball that was going to be an easy touchdown. He stopped running for some reason. Then he tried to catch back up. So A&M had its miscues as well.
I think the last thing, and I'll say this just because, again, it's low. I think Auburn's going to take a step forward.
See,
they were 5-7, so a step forward means bowl. I would expect them to be bowl eligible.
Yeah, I think they're going to take a step back.
Interesting. Okay,
and
we'll get into that more. Well, let's save some of that for the next segment because we're going to do a full little Auburn preview. But yeah, I see them getting to bowl eligibility. You don't.
They might.
Switching the conversation to College Station, talking offense. New look here. You've got Bobby Petrino joining Jimbo's Fisher staff as the offensive coordinator. What do you expect to see from the Maroon and White in 2023? I know you're invested in the Aggies to an extent.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I certainly love following the ups and downs of this program, and it's very it's really intoxicating. I enjoy it quite a bit, and I also get frustrated quite a bit. And the last couple of years, the offense has not been near good enough. And there's a million reasons for that to be, but again, analysis easily tells us that they just do not generate enough offensively, and a lot of that's quarterback play, but a lot of it is also not having a scheme that is utilizing your playmakers enough. I realize that the talent level will ebb and flow, but you have to have some bread and butter offensively. That is not just asking, A-Chain or Spiller a couple years before that, or you just start going through, the running back situation, and they depend so much on the running back both in the run and pass game, and so I'm really eager to see Petrino kind of unlock the wide receivers in more of a daily diet rather than just looking for them for the home run. They need, to bring back the ability for those wide receivers to carry a big burden their offense. And I just think over the last several years, we've seen the recruiting rankings. We've seen a lot of good things at the wide receiver position, but only at certain points last year. And I think when Connor was in the game, it was good to see, guys like Evan Stewart get unlocked and Muhammad. And I think there's a lot to build on there, but it needs to become less, what's the term? Less of a big occasion and more of just this is what we do. We do this all the time.
Cam Dewberry, one of those really highly regarded guys that chose A&M late in a very high-profile, important battle that came down to the wire, really, between A&M and Texas. So it was a huge in-state win. Keeping that Atascocita pipeline going. He's that guy that, starting as a ninth grader when Kenyon Green's starting as a senior, and now here he is, really followed in Kenyon's footsteps by starting as a true freshman, and the offensive line got better when Cam, started. And it was one of those deals where he probably wanted to start game one and probably wasn't ready. And the way things worked out, he got to go take the field when he was ready to play and play well. And we first saw him against Alabama, and I know everybody was like, okay. And then in that LSU game, he was a key cog there in them running for, I don't know how many total yards, but I know A-Chain went for 238. I think close to 300.
273 as a team.
Yeah, close to 300 rushing yards that day against an LSU defense. So Cam went into the offseason on an absolute high note. And I just think he's so technically sound, first of all, really well coached there in high school, and then came over. And you see him, Dalton, and we see him coming here, and he is, you see him, you go, that's going to be a dude that's going to be hard to move around in the trenches. And it's actually quite the opposite. He does the moving around, and I think he has a chance to be an extremely physical inside, SEC interior lineman, and a guy that, in this day and age, we don't say it that much because you're just so used to guys not exhausting their eligibility. But the reality is you could have a 4-year starter on your hands in Cam Dewberry. He's that talented and he's that good.
The team that we covered is going to be in the conversation, has the most pressure in 2023.
Actually, I went with Texas A&M as the number one team in the conference in terms of pressure. And, we don't talk hot seat. I don't believe Jimbo Fisher's on the hot seat by any means now, but I think there's an expectation with the amount of money that he's been paid, the raise that bumped his salary up. At some point in time, you have to have an ROI, whether you're talking about the business world or you're talking about football. And football certainly is a big business here in this conference. I think it's time for Texas A&M to show some growth. I'd be interested to find out from you guys what you think a successful season is coming off a 5-7 year. But, I think there's a lot of things to be optimistic about. And I'll say after talking with a number of A&M players here and representing the school yesterday, particularly Anaya Smith, who I'm absolutely in love with. I think he's awesome. Can't wait to see him come back from that injury. But I think they are kind of enjoying laying in the cut a little bit this year as compared to the last 2 years.
A&M, for whatever reason, it's almost in any sport. And I guess it's a culture thing, and it goes all the way back to when they were smaller, all-male, all-military, and Texas was this behemoth collecting national titles in football. For whatever it was, Texas A&M sports teams always do better with a chip on their shoulder. And you go back to the 98 Big 12 championship team with Tiny Datwin and little running back named Dante Hall and a hard-working tight end named Dan Campbell. And you go to 2012 with this 5'11" quarterback that no one had ever heard of, and they're coming into the big bad SEC. Mm-hmm. The Aggies have always, in every sport, this, performed better when they feel a little slighted, and maybe when they've kind of eaten a little bit of humble pie like the team did last. I agree with you though, Chris. I think it is. I called it. This is the pivotal year, I think, in Jimbo's tenure.
Yeah. Luke, what was your favorite part of today's episode of TexAgs Radio?
I would say revealing player number 23, Cam Dewberry.
Really?
And I cannot wait to see who number 22 is going to be.
Yeah, not 24 like Nick said this morning.
Yeah.
That was the first thing he said this morning. He was asking everybody who 24 was, and I was like, well, we stopped at 23, buddy. But it's okay. Luke, thank you so much for all that you do for us here at TexAgs.
Anytime, Dalton. Thank you for everything that you do, supporting
Everything.
my safety here as well as everything you do for TexAgs.
This is not a hostage video, guys. This is the rewind. Like it, share it, send it to your friends. Thank you.